Minnie joins me now in our Auckland studio. Kia ora, Minnie, good morning.
Kia ora, Paul. Lovely to be here.
The outlook is quite different these days, isn't it, in terms of what people could aspire to do?
I think the challenge is to every single one of us. This is not something one person can do. This is about all of us understanding the role we can play. The lives of many people living with disability in New Zealand are absolutely shocking.
For too long, the disability community in particular have been denied their right to be.
What we've seen is that over the years, people with disability have been marginalised, often invisible in society. It has to change.
Whilst we think that we're doing all we can in various guises, the truth is we probably need to be thinking about it through a different lens.
Why wouldn't we want a world where everyone could reach their fullest potential and flourish and just be?
Minnie Baragwanath grew up in Palmerston North, New Zealand. She was the third of 4 children. It was a classic Kiwi childhood. But at the age of 15, she was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, a juvenile macular degeneration that causes progressive vision loss to the point of legal blindness.
So, I thought perhaps I'd just start with when I did first find out about my eyesight and how old I was, because it will probably be different for everyone here, Everyone will have a slightly different experience. The thing about mine was that it really wasn't until a few things started happening in my life where I started to think, actually, this just doesn't seem quite right. And one of those things was starting my driving lessons. And at that point, realising that, gosh, if this is how other people are seeing, it's amazing anyone has survived beyond the age of about 15 in this country. I guess there were several factors that were starting to kind of line up. And so when I was 13, so I think I must have been 13, we went and started to have some tests done on my eyes. And the thing is that Mum had been incredibly vigilant about us always getting our sight checked as children. So every year, I think, just about, we would have our eyesight checked by an optometrist and an ophthalmologist. But there was something about my condition that meant that in those days, it wasn't picked up. So I started what would have been your year 13 equivalent. And I remember going into the schoolroom and on the board, on the blackboard, there was just screeds and screeds of writing, and there was no teacher. And I was thinking, and the instructions were for us to read all of this and then do this assignment. I thought, well, I can't. I didn't know where the teacher was. I didn't know what was on the blackboard. So there was a sort of moment of how on earth am I going to be able to get through this year? When I got the diagnosis, I do then recall having this sense when I went back to school that somehow the teachers were now concerned at my ability to play sport. I don't know if I remember feeling sad about it or just a bit bemused, I do remember this coach though, and I do remember thinking, oh, that's weird, he sees me differently now,
Against these odds, Minnie went on to study at university, receiving a bachelor degree in English literature from Victoria University, and later a Bachelor in Communication Studies from AUT in Auckland. This led her to working as a TV researcher and presenter on Inside Out, a disability television series. Then she became the Program Advisor for Disability at Auckland Council.
When I was working for the Auckland City Council, we developed up this accessibility program for the Rugby World Cup. And during that, the idea crystallised, and it had been an idea that had been sitting there for a long time, around a social change campaign.
I first met Minnie in 2007. At the time, she was the Disability Advisor at the Auckland City Council. The first thing we worked on together was a story that brought to life how would Auckland look if disabled people were empowered, able to get in and experience everything Auckland had to offer, socially and physically.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I am deaf. I've been deaf all my life, and I'm proud to be deaf.
My name is Mary Schnackenberg. I was born blind, and it's just part of who I am.
My name is Karl Ngatulai. I'm a 30-year-old male, Aucklander. I'm a lawyer by trade.
What we quickly realised, having done the Step Up Auckland research and storytelling, was that we had this huge opportunity to actually drive some significant social change. We needed to actually rename this whole category. So the idea of Be Accessible as the name was as much a call to action as it would be the name of the brand or the organisation.
On the 17th of January, I arrived at AUT, who had very generously given us this office space, and there was a desk. And there was no computer, and there was no phone, and there were no people, and there were no chairs. There was nothing, there was a desk. And I remember thinking, okay, it's what you call a clean slate. It was really thanks to the amazing support of our founding partners, who all invested some startup money and resource. Some people offered offices, some people provided money, all these acts of generosity. And the other key thing that happened at that time was that some of our initial funding came through the Making a Difference Fund, through the Ministry of Social Development.
What excited me was that Be was really clear about the change that it was wanting to make and had something, an idea, a concept that would attract people, that was really positive and really easy to understand and really powerful.
I encountered Minnie Baragwanath, which was quite an event in my life, at a time when I was doing some work in the disability sector, as a consequence of being chair of the Employer Disability Network. And we chatted about the opportunity to do more than simply look at the employment opportunities, but rather to transform how New Zealanders thought about all of our citizens.
The vision of Be is for New Zealand to become the best place in the world to be for all people by creating a culture of accessibility, removing barriers to people's lives. There are so many elements to what this new world can look like when we move from a notion of disability to accessibility to possibility. The first few months of Be were very interesting financially. We had no idea how we were going to manage beyond the end of June 2011. So all we knew was that somehow we could probably make it to June, and we were just in the lap of the gods after that.
With the establishment of Be Accessible and the 2011 Rugby World Cup on the horizon, there was a greater need for long-term investment in accessibility. So Minnie was invited to Parliament in Wellington to present the Be Vision.
I was invited to go and present to the Ministerial Committee to give an update on what we were now doing around the Rugby World Cup. And I think the idea was that could we take what Auckland was doing and sort of replicate it across the country in some way. I walked into this room and I was gobsmacked, and I had totally underestimated the moment, you know? I don't know, it felt like there must have been 15 or 20 MPs sitting around this massive table. Their entire entourage, all these, you know, government officials around them. I couldn't even see across the other side of the room, you know, who was sort of down the other end of the table. And I just got hit by this wave of the moment, you know, and how important it was.
It was during the planning phase for the Rugby World Cup. I was on a committee that heard a submission about accessibility to facilities during the Rugby World Cup. Up until that time, the conversation had largely been around, you know, the usual planning for events like that. And the submission from memory brought quite a different perspective to the discussions.
I remember hearing Minnie talk about Be Accessible and spoke about it in a much more inclusive way than I'd ever heard it spoken about before.
Well, I think just at the time, my memory was that we wanted to ensure that the festival, that the experience, that the Cup was as available to everybody as it should have been. and that ensuring that facilities and the like were up to scratch meant thinking about it through a different lens, and I actually think the submission made a pretty big impact from memory.
The first time I talked to the Prime Minister and to Minister English about this issue, I really saw the lights come on. When they were able to relate it out into the community, out into tourism, out into economic opportunity, I think that was the thing really that made them realise that this was something that they needed to be committed to.
I'm very excited about the launch of the Bee Institute because I think about what this means and what the potential is for this social movement to get going. And that's why I'm doing something particularly counterintuitive and having a mud pack applied to my face, in order to get this done. Good evening, everyone. We are your MCs for tonight. My name is Matt, and this is my wonderful co-presenter Ursula, who is here to make me look good.
Tonight is a very, very important, special night for all of us. It is a very exciting new initiative to you guys, to the world. It's like we're starting a new conversation.
Disabled people have often said that the biggest barrier of all is the disabling society that we live in. And they tell me that they just want to be free to go to the gym, to have the job of their dreams, to yell with excitement at rugby, to enjoy a concert, to be part of it all, not merely a spectator in an armchair from afar. So how can we best support the Bee conversation? I'm so very pleased tonight to be able to announce that as part of this year's budget package, the government will fund Be Accessible to the tune of $4 million over 4 years.
One of the most extraordinary moments in my entire life was the moment when Minister Turia announced that this government was going to invest $1 million a year over the next 4 years into Bee. That sense of belief in you and your ideas is one of the most powerful things. And I think when we think about social change, it's key. That belief means you also have the ability to really start doing amazing stuff. One of the things we were really mindful of was that we had to get Bee out and about. We literally drove in a camper van with Bee branding sort of splattered all over it around the country for 3 weeks solid.
Six and a half minutes past 9 o'clock here on the Awesome Morning Show, Otago Access Radio 105.4 FM. Well, last evening, a new social enterprise rolled into Dunedin. The Great Kiwi Accessibility Road Trip is an initiative of the Bee Institute.
It's a pleasure to be here, and Dunedin's looking pretty awesome this morning. What I think we've not had in New Zealand before is a really comprehensive voice and approach to accessibility. And we're sort of hoping that Bee could perform some of that role.
Accessibility is very high on the disability community in Dunedin's radar. So what Bee Accessible is trying to do is what we need down here.
Christchurch can do anything. We've come through the earthquakes and everything. I believe we can basically go forward, move on and make it the best city in the country.
I can see that Bee is promoting a much more open attitude and knowledge about accessibility.
The community tend to put us into pigeonholes. I don't think they realise that because you're disabled, you can operate pretty well on a lot of fronts. It's just a matter of getting that message across to them.
Be Accessible is really providing an opportunity for our message to get out, because we can be 100% accessible. It just takes a bit of innovative and creative thinking and looking at solutions from a slightly different angle.
It's got a very vibrant life in Wellington, and I think if we can get that sort of thing more accessible to everybody, it's just going to make it better for everyone as well.
It is about all of us. So accessibility at every place, for every reason, for every person. And it's so easy and so achievable.
When we created the brand, I went and tried to engage with various people around that. And some people totally embraced it. But where I found many of the blocks, interestingly, was within the disability community itself. There were certain groups that were threatened deeply in their sense of self and identity, because B also challenges a way of being in the world. It's not just a program that's external, it's about behaviours and how we think about ourselves. So I think it's sort of sent shockwaves through various other organisations. And partly the reason why it's so challenging is that many of these people are the people that I have looked to in the past as leaders. So what I then had to do was really stop and think, no, actually, I've given this years of thought. I've actually lived my whole life with a disability also. I've studied it, I've reflected on it, I've worked in it. I know this stuff as well as anyone. But at the same time, listen, be respectful, keep the door open and say at any point that people want to engage, we want to engage.
Despite some early resistance, B was now established nationwide, and it was time to launch its programs.
So this is day one of the first 3-day retreat, and there are 10 retreats throughout the year. What it is a group of really highly achieving people coming together to distribute that wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom. And this is the first time that a group of people who are labelled disabled by society in New Zealand have come together to do that process.
I'm Matt Frost, and I'm, 30-year-old Pākehā male, as I describe myself in various, talks about autism at various audiences. But I guess what is my point of difference is that I'm proud to say that I am disabled and autistic. I think this is fantastic for the disability sector and community. And I think it will be a fantastic experience to be part of.
It's really important for me to be on this course because I'm young, I'm Māori, I'm female, and I'm disabled. That's 4 strikes and you're out, baby. Well, that's what you can look at it as, or you can turn it around and it's 4 treasures to be cherished.
I don't know a lot about other disabilities. I'm very focused on deaf community and deaf language, because deaf is very separate from other disabilities. We have our own culture, our own language. We don't see ourselves as disabled. So this will be really good in developing my awareness.
My name's Pete Taylor, and my background, or previous former life, I became an equestrian. When I was at Barcelona Olympics, I was bitten by a sandfly and was infected unknowingly by a microscopic parasite that destroyed my bone marrow. And the result of that was doing a lot of chemotherapy, which has caused my eyes and ears to be damaged so that I'm now blind and deaf. I feel very privileged that I have been accepted onto this course. This was an opportunity to be able to be provoked into a different way of thinking so that my leadership could be more effective in the future. When life has been threatened, there's no point in sitting around just sort of going, well, I've done what I can for myself now. It's about what do I do for other people.
I so want this to be absolutely life-changing for the people who are on the program. If we pull this off this year as a group, I think it's one of the most significant social change initiatives that's around. And it'd be something I'd be hugely proud of.
Be leadership is building a community of leaders. So it's not just about people out there just as individuals, disconnected. It's about how do we build a community of leadership that's strong and robust and resilient across the country with a shared language that we understand when we talk about leadership, and a leadership that is appropriate for the 21st century, finding ways to lead that can create a better world.
The second program to be launched was Be Welcome, an initiative to make New Zealand's places and spaces accessible, with an online directory highlighting and promoting accessible business to Access customers.
Access customers are apparently one of New Zealand's fastest growing consumer groups. So how can businesses tap into that market? Good morning to you, Minnie.
Good morning.
When we're talking about the accessibility dollar, are we talking about just people, say, in wheelchairs or with some kind of physical disability, or something more than that?
We're talking much more than that, although even if we take that group, that's 20% of the population who identifies having some kind of an impairment or disability. But what we're actually talking about is the rapidly ageing baby boomer group, who have the highest discretionary spend of any group and have the highest rates of impairment. And within that also are parents with pushchairs accessing environments with children as well. So it's a burgeoning group, if you like, not just locally but internationally.
Be Welcome is a program that we launched during Rugby World Cup campaign, where to prepare the country for greater accessibility, we work to develop an assessment tool. We are not looking only at physical access of businesses and environments. We're actually working with those organisations and those business owners in terms of the accessibility of their customer service, of their communications, their websites, their marketing tools, the culture and the attitudes of the people that work within their businesses, as well as their physical space and how people actually get to those environments.
You need to be accessible to everyone if you want to maximise what you're doing in hospitality. It's going to bring exposure to your cafe. It's going to give you that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling, knowing that you're actually helping and you're making a bit of a difference too. It's not just about the coffee that they're drinking and the money that they've spent for it. It's actually about why they've come to your cafe.
Be Accessible assessed Auckland Zoo, and what that really highlighted for us was a lot of things that we need to work on in order to be more accessible.
It's really important that all organisations have a long, hard look at themselves to make sure that they are as accessible as possible and as relevant as they possibly can be to the community in which they exist.
We've got a $40 billion damage bill in Christchurch. 80% of the commercial buildings in the core of the central city have gone, so we've got the opportunity to do something completely different. So my challenge to the community, in fact my challenge to the whole of New Zealand, is understand the scale of what we're going into and recognise that accessibility is going to be a key component of our strategy.
In terms of the rebuilding those civic facilities, those common facilities or new commercial buildings, we do have an opportunity to build those buildings much, much more accessible than they were before. We've got a much cleaner sheet of paper here and we've got to take that opportunity.
There are certain businesses who've just embraced this and we don't have to sell at all. It's like, we get it, we want it, when can we sign up? And that's fantastic. And then I think what we do is we take those businesses and then we share those stories with the next layer out, if you like. It will take time for that to build and grow, but I guess what we really hope is that this becomes just a place that people can go and know that when they click on a particular business or, you know, a particular facility in their community, they can find out in a way that's useful for them how accessible they are.
Diversity in the workplace is absolutely critical to business success across New Zealand.
Employing a diverse population, we get such a mix and depth of talent and experience.
The next program was Be Employed, with the aim of advancing a more accessible employment landscape.
So Be Employed is a program, it's the latest Be program we've established, and really it's all about building confident employers who understand what it means to be truly accessible in the employment space. So within the Be Employed program, one of the first initiatives to get off the ground is the internship program.
So the Be Employed internship program works with students who are in their second to last or final years of tertiary study and are looking for short-term placements of 4 to 16 weeks. And we are brokering the relationship between the student and the organisation.
I was made aware of the Be Employed internship program last year, and I was really excited because I could see that there would be quality graduates as part of this program, and sure enough, that certainly was the case.
The key experiences I have taken from the internship is dealing with different cultures in a big workplace, in an office environment, getting the opinions of different people, especially when it comes to what I'll be doing after my internship. It's been like a family. It's been fantastic.
I'm really excited about the future of the Be Employed internship program. I think it's an amazing initiative, and I guess as a visually impaired individual, it's something that I would have loved to have had the opportunity to have been part of 20 odd years ago when I had finished my study.
Right now we're standing outside the beautiful refurbished Auckland Art Gallery, and this beautiful venue is where we're about to begin the ceremony to celebrate the first ever graduation of the Be Leadership Group.
It's been the first year of an innovative program, and I know that the 19 people tonight will go away with the belief that whatever they choose to do will be meaningful, purposeful, and their own choice.
Welcome to you all this evening. It's absolutely amazing to have you all here tonight. This is deep, heartfelt, authentic social change. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
If any of you needed to get a sense of what people with disabilities are capable of achieving, please tonight talk to at least one of our Be leaders. They will emerge as true national and I'm sure international leaders.
I've been extremely proud of the fellow participants. Tonight, it really signified a lot of really good things and the amazing connection that we've had through this year. So yeah, I'm really proud of them.
It's been a phenomenal night, and wow. And I'm sad. Let's be honest, I'm sad. I'm sad, but yeah, I feel absolutely overwhelmed, a mixture of emotions, and loving every minute of it.
If each of the 19 people graduating tonight are able to live their fullest lives as their fullest realised selves, I think that would be a success. I know it's possible. I just know it's possible. It's possible for everyone, and that is what Be is about. And that's why I believe in it, and that's why I know it, because it's happening, you know? It's happening. Hey, it's Minnie speaking from Be. Have you heard about Rena? So, sweetheart, oh, I'm so sorry. I've got actually some very sad news about Rena. She passed away yesterday. I know, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm just here with Philip, and we were just trying to think who perhaps we hadn't reached.
It wasn't long after the inaugural Be Leadership graduation that Rena Savage passed away. Over the next 2 years, the same group was to lose 2 more of their peers, Sean McKinney and Peter Taylor.
There are so many beautiful moments in the B story and moments of incredible celebration and light. But interspersed with those amazing, beautiful moments are some really deeply sad moments.
We've lost people from our program, and we felt that as a group very, very deeply in a way that I haven't experienced before.
I do think about them, and they're kind of like a compass point around what we're doing and why we're doing it.
What makes today particularly special is that it is an occasion on which we can acknowledge the significant contributions that a group of individuals have made to enrich our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the authority and the privilege on behalf of Her Majesty, the Queen of New Zealand, to hold an investiture ceremony for her and to confer the honours to which each of the recipients is entitled.
Ms. Minnie Baragwanath of Auckland for services to people with disabilities.
The words of a great New Zealander, the late Sir Paul Callaghan, seem to me appropriate to quote, "What greater sense of fulfilment can there be but to make a difference to the community in which you live?" That's the real opportunity New Zealand offers. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and on behalf of all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements.
When I look at what we've achieved in the last 3-4 years, we've actually created a series of nationwide programs. We've got thousands of people engaged through our database. We've got nearly 70 B leaders who have gone through the leadership program. Thousands of people every year hear the B message going out and are starting to hopefully think differently about accessibility and to really think about what's possible in the world rather than what's not. Tonight we are in the gorgeous Shed 10 venue down on the Auckland waterfront. Firstly, it is the B Leadership graduation of the 2014 B Leaders. And the other thing that we're doing tonight, which is a first for B, is launching the Fab 50 network of influential New Zealanders who are all making a commitment to being a part of making a more accessible world.
2014 B Leadership, 4th year, been a wonderful year.
It feels like it's building such a strong community of people who are focused on their own and the community of leadership.
And so as we celebrate our 15 graduates and the 63 B Leader alumni that they join, I congratulate you all on having the confidence, the willpower and the sheer belief that will literally astound even yourselves.
Now, I've been asked to read out the names of the individuals who have agreed to become part of our Fab 50 network. This is really important because we do believe that to shift the dial, to really make change, we need lots and lots of leaders in our community to be standing up and advocating for a different way.
I think it's a real privilege to be part of the Fab 50, but I also feel a real sense of responsibility. It's something as a country that we should really be mobilising ourselves around.
These sort of things change people's minds about what's possible. That's a really important thing.
I remember being part of the B launch event and having an inkling deep down that, this was something that was going to really go places. And I think tonight really just rubber stamps what is an amazing social change movement to be a part of.
Whether you're disabled or not, you should see Be Accessible as a really important matter for all of us in this country. What they do is they inspire people to be the difference that they want to be. Right from the concept being put to the government, we knew that this was something that was going to fly, and it has.
Now is the point that I would extend an invitation to the rest of New Zealand, to the leaders across the country, to the communities across the country, to actually identify what it is they can be doing to advance access in their own lives and in their own communities. The next generation of children must grow up in a world where accessibility is just how life is. It's not even thought about as something special. Accessibility is the movement of the 21st century, and I absolutely wholeheartedly believe that if any country in the world can lead this, it is New Zealand and New Zealanders.